Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Cat Prince, and this is a video. This is a live reading for my astrology students. I'm here with the beautiful, majestic, amazing Lauren. She's a little bit busy right now, so she won't be talking too much, but I'm going to be doing a live reading, just breaking down her chart and answering any questions that she may have. She does have a lot of questions. I think that's why I decided to do this reading. But yeah, I think a lot of people really enjoy when I break down people's charts, so you get the real life examples and real life experience of what I'm looking at and how I think about astrology. I think a lot of people get a lot of value out of that. Let's see. Let me zoom in on this because it's kind of wild. Is this better? I think it's better. So, Lauren, say hi. That's all you got to say. Say hi.
Hello, people.
Shut up. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So that was Lauren. And feel free to ask any questions. This is just a general reading to start with, right? Or do you just want to just out and just go start with the questions that you had? Because I know you had at least one or two, right?
Yeah, I have one or two questions. So let's just start with the general and then I'll give you the questions at the end.
All right. So I tell my students the same thing every single time with every single chart. You don't even want to care. Don't even look at this, right? You don't look at the aspects. You don't care about that. Don't look at anything. I always decide what planet has the biggest influence in her chart, right? And we use a counting system, right? It's a very arbitrary counting system, but still we use it and we decide what sign, what planet has the most influence, right? So she's a Capricorn rising. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, so that's a point towards Saturn. Then we look at her Saturn, see if there's any more influence there, seeing how active her Saturn is. Saturn is. Am I blind? I can't see it. Saturn is. It's somewhere around here. Holy shit! It's right here. So we see a Saturn trine Pluto. That's a very significant aspect right there. Saturn opposite North Node. I don't really count the North Node, so we don't really count that. Um, and then we see a Moon Saturn right here. So very active. Saturn in Pisces right here. So I'll say 3 points for Saturn right now. 3 points for Capricorn being the most influential planet. And then we look at her 10th house, see if there's anything in the 10th house. Pluto, but not really. And then anything in Capricorn. And she has a bunch of planets in Capricorn. I think she has, let's see, she has Jupiter in Capricorn, she has Neptune in Capricorn, and she has her moon in Capricorn. So I think it's safe to say that Capricorn, well, really, Saturn is the most influential planet in her chart. But we still got to make sure, is there anything else that I can see that is more influential? See a couple Pluto placements here. We got Mars square Pluto. All of my students know how this is pretty much the most dangerous placement in transit astrology, not necessarily natal astrology, even though that is very significant. I call it the most dangerous one. A lot of fatal incidents happen under Mars square Pluto, but again, this is a natal chart, so it's something different. So Pluto has a lot of influence here. Do you have anything in Scorpio? Her ascendant is in Scorpio. I mean, her MC is in Scorpio, which you know I don't really count the MC because the ascendant is already here. But the fact that her ascendant, I mean, her MC is tilted because usually the MC is somewhere at the top of the chart. So her MC is slightly canted to the left. I'll say it's significant for this chart and this chart only. Usually the fourth house is at the bottom and the 10th house is all the way at the top, but it's slanted. That means something within itself, right? Um, so yeah, Saturn. It's looking like Saturn is the most significant placement in our chart. Anything with Venus? Venus might be the only one. Nope, it's definitely Saturn. All right, Saturn followed by Venus are the two planets with the most influence in her chart. I say Venus because look at all this activity. You got Venus trine ascendant, Venus trine Neptune, Venus trine Moon. Uh, Venus in the eighth house, which adds more credence to Pluto being most important. So Pluto is probably the third most important planet in her chart. And yeah, I hope that all makes sense. I know I'm talking really, really fast, but yeah. So Saturn, because all the placements, all the planets in Capricorn, and the activity of Saturn in their chart is first, followed by Virgo, followed by Pluto. Three most important planets in their chart, right? So then you want to look at the shape. I always look at the shape of a chart, and what I mean by shape is where are the planets exactly, right? So notice how she has zero planets in the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth house. When I see this in any chart, I take this because the third house is all about socializing, fourth house is all about home, fifth house is hobbies, sixth house is habits. So, and she barely has a planet in the seventh house. She barely has a planet in the second house, right? So This whole section right here points that there's an empty hole here. Um, and I'm cheating a little bit because I'm using numerology. Because of her life path, I can tell that she allows other people to fill in this hole, similar to the last chart I did on my YouTube channel. But she really struggles when it comes to socialization. And the reason I say it was socialization and not with the home or her hobbies or anything like that is because this whole begins at the third house, right? So third house is all about your friends, your childhood, your youth. Um, but really your communication, how you talk, how you think, et cetera, et cetera. And this is where she has challenges, right? There's not any activity. There's not even an aspect covering over these houses right here. So she really struggles with communication, right? Numerology, the reason number communication, and these struggles color these other empty houses, right? So these struggles really cover um, because she struggles with communication, she has issues in the home, fourth house. She has issues finding hobbies. She has issues relaxing, having fun. You know, fifth house things. Possibly issues with children. She has issues with maybe the diet. Sixth house is all about your diet, your work routine, your habits. All because of her issues with communication. Lauren, is that accurate? Because don't just let me say things. Is that accurate? If I'm wrong, just tell me I'm wrong.
Sorry, it wasn't allowing me to unmute myself. Uh, I think that there is some truth to that. There is an aspect of communication that holds me back. I think that I'm really combative, like I'm aggressive in certain, scenarios that make communication difficult.
Mhm.
But I'm educated and I don't have any, problems actually speaking, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wasn't saying mental deficiency because that's somewhere else. That's another placement. That's not in this chart. I don't see that in this chart. Not really.
Yeah.
Um, if
But
you
other than that, yeah, that's true.
if you do want to see those like communication issues where it's like a physical stutter or something like that, or like something an illness or something like that, that's usually Uranus to Mercury, or Uranus in general is usually like the culprit behind the weird shit going on in a chart. Maybe Neptune, but Uranus Neptune, which is not really in your chart, not too much. So now let's actually get to reading the actual chart itself. Do I want to start with the placements or nope? We start with this. So the core of your chart is right here in the opposite corner of the empty hole. Right, the core of your chart is this moon square sun. That is the core of your chart. It's very rare to get a sun moon placement in any sense, but you have it exact. And what does exact mean? So here it says orb 0 degrees. My students already know about this, but orbs is basically it's a lot of math involved. So a square is when two planets make a 90-degree angle to each other, and orbs are all about how far away or how close they are to that exact, right? So see a sun square Neptune, it says orb 1 degrees. That means it's an 89 or 91 degree angle, not a 90 degree angle. So the sun square moon is a lot more impactful. There's a lot greater emphasis. This holds these themes of a sun square moon hold a greater place over Lauren's personality than the sun square Neptune. Right? Is there another square somewhere? Let's see. And see how it says Neptune square Chiron with it 4 degrees, right? So that means this square is 94 degrees or 86 degrees. Personally, I don't go past 5. 5 degrees is my cutoff. 6 and more is kind of wild. The only planet I go further than 5 degrees for is Pluto, and she has no Pluto here, so we don't need to worry about that. But yeah, anything past 5 degrees, I think is crazy. You don't really want to touch on that. Anyways, so the core of your chart, Sun square Moon, it's very very clear that the theme of your life pretty much is choices. I say that because you are a Libra sun, and Libra is the scales. Libra is always about making choices. Libras are infamously indecisive, and they struggle with making choices. And you are doubly so because Moon is your emotional needs, right? How you feel, your emotional world, what you need for emotional nourishment, and Sun is who you are, and Square is all about conflict and friction, right? So there is friction between how you feel, what you need, and who you are, right? Simple. And I say that's true, knowing Lauren, but let's see what she says. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's definitely true. I constantly battle with what I feel like I want to do and what I know the right thing is. to do, because that's not always the same thing. Like they don't always align. And then making harder decisions like moving, job, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
I'm not just quick to do things like that. Like it takes a lot of consideration.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's a puzzle. It's definitely a puzzle figuring out exactly how to resolve the square. Squares can be resolved, but usually after a lot of friction. The most famous example is like a Venus square Pluto or Venus opposite Pluto in synastry, right? Where it's a very toxic relationship. You guys are fighting each other, um, stabbing each other, and all that crazy stuff that goes on in these toxic relationships. But after that, usually, well, there's one or two possible endings. Either the relationship doesn't work and they go their separate ways, or they become really, really, really close because of that friction. They've gone through war together and now they've bonded. So there are ways for squares to resolve. The sun square move is the hardest to resolve because there's a lot of different factors that come into play. And the reason I say Venus and Saturn are the two most important planets is because her moon is in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, and her sun is in Libra, ruled by Venus. So these are the two planets you got to look at in order to resolve your sun square moon, which is a lot. I don't think we're going to get into that today because that's a lot of moving pieces, but hopefully we can get into some other stuff. Still, um, what do I want to say about the sun square moon beyond indecisiveness? Um, really, I don't know where I want to go. Do you have any questions so far? Do you want me to just keep on rambling?
Yeah, I do have a few questions.
Hmm.
So I get that that's a really difficult, position to have internally, but am I supposed to be using like external factors, or is this like a self improvement thing to resolve that square? I don't know if that
Um,
makes sense.
what do you mean? Can you,
Okay, yeah, yeah, clarify. So what I'm saying is it something that I have to improve like inwardly, like I have to look inside myself and improve that, or is this going to happen from my environment?
it's just going to be a theme of your life, and really, have you ever seen the movie? I think it's called Click, where this guy he has a remote that can like freeze time and do all that shit. I think it's called Click.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've seen it a while ago though.
Yes, it's called Click. So that guy basically he puts the remote on autopilot, and he says and he orders the remote. Go mute real quick, please.
Okay.
Yep, yep. And he orders the remote to basically fast forward his life until he gets a promotion. And it fast forwards like 30 years, and his dad is like dying dead or something like that. And he divorced his wife because he chose work over family every single time, right? And that's kind of like how your life can kind of play out if you just keep choosing one thing over and over and over again. Like just keep making decisions, right? Because let's say work, because right, it is Capricorn. Let's say you choose a career, right? You choose your career over everything else in your chart. Eventually, you're going to reach the same place to where the man in Click did, to where he did own this business. He was the CEO. He was top dog, but he had no one that loved him. He had no family, right? It's all about balance, right? And this balance will never be achieved. That doesn't mean you don't try, right? So it's always going to be a push pull between how you feel and what you want, and that's unfortunate, but still, try to balance it is the best thing I can give you. Best advice I can give you. No matter what, try to balance. Don't be choosing your heart every single
Okay,
time.
that makes sense.
Because it's all about feeding all these different mouths. Actually, that's perfect. You got to feed your sun. You got to feed your moon. You got to feed your Mars, which is all alone in this chart. You got to feed your Saturn, right? Your Saturn is really, really crucial. I think we'll get into that after this question. But still, you have a lot of different mouths within yourself to feed. And indecisiveness is just like all throughout your total energy, not even just your Western astrology. All throughout your energy. I'm not going to bring up your life path, but still, um, yeah, a lot of different mouths to feed, and you just got to choose when to feed them and when to nourish which parts of yourself. You're never going to be completely satisfied. If you've ever dreamed about being completely satisfied and happy in life, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. Or I won't say it's not going to happen. I don't like to be absolute with my readings. It's a very low chance of that happening, of you just being completely satisfied. Um, that's just who you are. You need stimulation in your life through one way or another. Either whether it's your Libra, whether it's your Moon, And if you, again, if you let's say you do the Libra side, right, your sun side, the sun side of your sun square moon, which is more about relationships, it's more about working with people. Maybe it's being popular, maybe it's being a socialite. Libras are expert socialites, like a Kim Kardashian. Maybe you want to do these things, go to these activities. I know you've been invited to some very high profile events, and but for some reason or another, really because of your moon, you said you don't want to go. But
Yeah.
yeah, so again, this is going to play out all throughout your life, and it's all about nourishing these different mouths within yourself, and balance. Attempting to balance is key. You're never going to reach balance, but attempting to is still what you should strive for.
Okay.
Mm. So yeah, keep. Oh, you gotta tell me you're doing that. Keep discovering what this moon square sun aspect does for you, and all the different details. I can go into how the moon is about your first house, and like you need a career for your identity, right? Like, or you feel like you need career success or reputational success, like for your reputation. You want a
Yeah, that's super important.
stop it, stop doing that.
Sorry.
Yeah, but it's very clear that you need it for yourself. You feel like that you need that to be. You already said it. I'm not gonna keep going on that, but still, but then, and you possibly got that from someone older. I don't want to say it's your mother or your father, but still, they
No,
drilled
I
that
got
into
that from
you.
my auntie.
Yeah, there you go. I see that because the moon sextile Saturn is telling you that you get this discipline, you get these your high achievingness. I don't know what the word is. Your motivations from this
Mhm.
older person, and that really tampered your moon. And then your sun side, again, all about relationships. Um, is there anything else with this? Yeah, you're all about relationships, and not just romantic ones. It's just relationships in general. You're always thinking about,
Bonds.
yeah, you're always thinking about leverage and how you are with other people at all times, and these two sides clash because you can't be worried about personal relationships and be worried about a career at the same time. Well, it's very hard to do that. Um, and
So I
then,
guess based on my chart, what does it what do you get in terms of a good fit?
as far as what?
Like a different career? Because I've really been into management and I guess you could just say real estate, and I feel like that fits the first part of the chart where my moon is and about success and ego, that sort of thing. But I don't know if it satisfies those other mouths that need to be fed in my chart.
Hmm. Um, it's really hard to say decide what it is because again, you're never going to get a completely satisfied answer. Um, honestly, I think I don't want to say influencer, but like something like that. Like when I say influencer, I don't mean today's definition of that. I mean like Kim Kardashian is really the best because even if you don't reach that magnitude of what she is, still she had no real job, but she still had like a lot of properties, a lot of things in her portfolio that she could do that could fulfill her at the same time. So
Right,
something
right.
like that, if you could. Whereas like the absolute best position I see you just looking at your chart is a wife that just does shit. I don't want to say Michelle Obama, but like really, like she's just like Obama just let Michelle just do whatever the fuck to leave him alone. He's like, oh yeah, go fuck up kids' lunches, go fuck up schools' lunches if you want to. Go do that. Um,
Uh-huh.
I got shit to handle. That's your absolute best position, taking in your chart as a whole, because you also have this Venus square Pluto, which adds a lot of insecurity, not just about relationships, but also like finances, right? So getting a partner, a husband, or a wife if you're into that stuff. Getting that security, right? Because well, really, this is another story within itself. Your Venus square Pluto trine Saturn, you have deep somethings. I don't want to say fear about finances, about relationships, about everything really. And I think getting someone, your man needs to be at least on the way to being financially secure enough to where he can support himself and he can support your business adventures or career adventures, wherever that may be.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate that like I'm saying that you need to rely on someone else, but like the Libra, that's how they are. They always rely on other people. That's how they succeed, right? They're the opposite of Aries, who are completely self-reliant, and you have no Aries energy within your chart. Well, I don't want to say no Aries energy, but still, you don't have a lot of independent energy within your chart. Venus square Pluto is very dependent. They're very, very, very dependent. You're very dependent in love when you're in love, really. But I don't know when the last time you've been in love for, because Venus square Pluto, they can be really, 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 really reserved. Even if they're in a relationship, and Libras can be fake. You have a lot of fake energy. When I say fake, like you wear a lot of mask, and you,
Hmm.
as a defense mechanism, you don't let people really see the real you. Um,
Yeah, I think that it's a confusing energy too because, like, have you ever heard a con is fooled by his own lies? It's
mhm.
kind of the same thing.
Yeah, but I hear that, but like at the same time, there's so much to address in here that like I see it in my mind. I just can't get it out. So just bear with me for a second.
Could you touch back on how you were talking about the degrees and why you don't look over 5?
Cause okay, so it's just like these aspects, right? I don't know if you're looking at the chart, looking at the screen,
Mhm,
but these aspects are the planets talking to each other. Past 5 degrees, they don't hear each other anymore. That's basically what it is. And
mhm,
at the sun square moon at 0 degrees, they are the loudest, right? They hear each other the loudest. They're the loudest two people. They're two neighbors yelling at each other loud as shit across the fucking street. At 5 degrees, they're whispering to each other. It's not as loud as this sun square moon. And at 6 degrees, it starts getting silly. It's a stretch. You just don't address that. Most astrologers use 3 degrees. They don't go past 3 degrees. I still see impact at 5 degrees. That's why I use it.
okay.
Mm, so let's talk about your Venus real quick. I know I'm jumping all over the place. You have a Venus in Virgo, which in itself is an issue for a lot of people because Virgo is all about boundaries, all about standards.
Mhm,
You have high standards for yourself and the people in your relationships. You're always very critical. Venus in Virgo is probably the worst position for Virgo. I mean, for Venus, in my opinion, because
mhm,
you're never going to reach. I don't want to say never, but it's very hard. You're very hard on yourself. You blame yourself first and foremost for a lot of things, and you place yourself to a very high standard, which is very high maintenance. Takes a lot of emotional security, takes a lot of stability, takes a lot of energy within yourself to just maintain that these boundaries that you have, these standards that you have, um, and then because you place standards on yourself, you expect others to have the same standards, which is
mhm,
there's 11 other signs they don't have the same standards as you. Um, and on top of that, you have Venus in the eighth house, which is again an issue. Not as bad as Venus and Virgo, but combined is kind of an issue because now you have a need for deep, you're very deep, possessive, extreme lover, which for some people is a lot to handle, too much to handle sometimes. But you're almost like a mom when you love, honestly, to where you love them so much, but you have standards and you don't want to be disappointed in them. So you're kind of controlling. Especially with this Venus square Pluto. You're very, very controlling, very, very controlling, especially with your moon in Capricorn. Very controlling and manipulative, man. But like the thing is, it's not with bad intentions, right?
mhm.
You're kind of like this entire thing is shaping up to be like a Taurus woman, where Taurus they manipulate men to who they think will be the best for them, right?
Well, that's what I was looking at in earlier, not to interrupt,
Mhm.
but I read about degrees and it was stating that the 26th degree is actually a Taurus degree,
Oh,
and both my Libra sun and the Capricorn is at 26th degree.
I disagree with that completely. I know the person who came up with that theory. I still disagree with it.
Okay.
There is a little bit to be said about degrees, though. I thought you were talking about something else. My bad. So no, there is like something you could take, but I'm not allowed to speak on that. That is higher knowledge that I'm not allowed to spread. So unfortunate, but still, there's a lot to be gained from just learning about this Venus right here. This Venus is another focal point, another conversation within yourself that you're having about love, about money, about relationships. I kind
Right.
of touched on it already, at least from a relationship standpoint, right? To where when you love. You've probably been burned. A lot of people with eighth house plutonic energy has been burned before. Like I think it's just a prerequisite at this point to be burned in love or to be spurned
Mhm.
in love, and that has really changed you. Your first love, or maybe your father or whoever you love the most, really not even really betrayed you. It's just that you felt betrayed for some reason. And because of that, it changed completely how you deal with relationships in the future. And what you have to embrace, there's a couple things you need to embrace. I think you should really, I don't want to say lower your standards because it seems like that sounds offensive, but
Mhm.
be more understanding. It's very hard to tell anybody with Virgo energy to just be more understanding, um, and be more patient because you guys already feel like you're patient. You guys already feel like you're understanding, but look
Mhm.
at the bigger picture. You're very hypercritical of yourself and other people. You need to expand. You need to look at the bigger picture. You have a very I don't want to say weak Jupiter, but it's not the
What
most.
is
Hmm?
what is the weak positioning? Is it because it's not in, you know, what is that? The planet that rules over it? I think it's, is it Uranus that rules over Jupiter?
No, Jupiter is a planet in itself. Nothing rules over Jupiter.
Oh,
There's not a lot
sorry.
of activity. There's not a lot of activity, and it's in the 12th house. There's a lot of stuff going on, so you don't really see things from the bigger picture. You're always in the moment. Um, Not really happy. Jupiter in itself is like for happiness and new experiences and all that stuff. But still,
Mhm.
and that's a story within itself. But hold on, you don't have any Jupiter that I respect. Yeah, no, there's no Jupiter in this chart that I can see. So it's a very weak, unaspected Jupiter, which is a problem within itself. Um, you need to look at things from a bigger picture. That is one thing. It's going to be difficult because you don't have Jupiter in your chart, and Jupiter is all about, it's all about the bigger picture. It's all about expansion, right? And that's something you need to embrace. I think you're too hypercritical because you're too in the moment and you judge every single move that you do because you're so indecisive, right? And you think, shit, I should have done that. As soon as you fuck up, you're not willing to look at things for the long term. Even though you have an active Saturn, that's something that you should do. But like none of your social planets look at Saturn. It's really, well, only your moon does it, and that's not enough. That's not enough for you to look at the long term. The Saturn trine Pluto is telling you to focus on the long term. Basically, the more you focus on the long term, the more you reap what you sow, the more work you put in. Eventually, you're going to get paid out, especially when you get older. I think your life, this chart is telling you that your life will get better as you get older. You're young right now, and 20 something isn't old to Saturn, and it definitely isn't old to Pluto. You got to be at least in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and that's when your life will really start to glow up, will start to get better.
Bro,
Um,
what the fuck?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think a lot of these things will start to resolve by themselves as you get older. It's just the struggle is right now. Um, let's see. There's a lot of things. I can write a 20-page essay on this chart. Jesus, it's a lot going on. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, try living that chart.
My chart is worse. Shut up.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. But yeah, it's just a lot going on. You're a very complex person, and that in itself is a tricky thing because you seem to be very happy-go-lucky um, person. Well, no, that's a lie. That's Cap. You have Capricorn ascendant. You're very intimidating, but like there's so many different voices in your head. Sometimes you're this very soft, sweet girl, and you want to be, but as soon as you're that, then there's other voices telling you to stand up, like stop that weak shit, nigga.
Right.
Right. So you have different voices in your head, man, and you got to feed them all. There is no choosing one and ignoring the other. That's when your life starts to really go to shit. Anything else? Any questions? I know I've just been talking and talking.
No, you haven't been talking and talking, but yeah, so I'm trying to get some type of clarity of my mind where I can feed these things, that these aspects one by one, or is it possible that I can address more
Um,
than one at a time?
it's gonna be like time management kind of thing, and when these decisions come up, right? It's whenever these decisions come up is when you know you have to feed these different mouths, right? So you're at a career split right now, right? You're at a path to where you can go anywhere in career.
Uh-huh.
That's one of these decisions. You're probably down to like two or three options right now, or
Right.
maybe not. I don't know, but still, that's one of these decisions. Maybe it's going to be relationships, right? You got two or three men. um, you're really taking seriously and that you want to be committed to. That's another business. Maybe one guy you choose is really going to help your career. Maybe one guy you choose is really going to nourish your family. Maybe you really, really, really love this other guy, but he doesn't have what the other two guys have. So that's another decision. You hate making decisions, but your chart is forcing you to make decisions. Mhm.
Okay.
So it's all about whenever a decision comes up, like a life changing, a significant one, and these are going to be very important. And like I said, the best I think you're going to be happiest with a man or woman, whoever decides to be with you and whoever you decide to be with, who has financial security, who can fund your business interests, who has similar business interests, who just wants a woman who's very what's the word, high high something. I forget what the word is, but like you aim high. Yeah, he just wants a woman who's very successful, who's very driven. I think that's your best bet, and don't go for the one that you love. There's probably a man that you really, 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 really love, either now or in the past or in the future, somewhere in your life. I think you should avoid him, personally.
Avoid what? Can you say that again?
I said, this Venus square Pluto, there's probably a man that you deeply, deeply, deeply love somewhere. And I recommend you avoid him. You don't follow your heart on this one. I know this is kind of wild to be telling you not to follow your heart, but if you get with the man that you really, really love, like your heart just sings, right? He's not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to feed the other parts of you. So you're feeding your Venus, but your Sun and Moon are going to be ignored. That makes sense,
Okay.
and then you're going to be dissatisfied, and it's just going to develop into a toxic relationship. I think you should get the man with money. Honestly, get a man with money.
Wait.
Get a man who wants you to succeed in business or in whatever career path that you choose.
Okay.
I think that's the option, even if you don't love him as much as you do the other guy. That's honestly what I would tell you.
Okay. I see some truth in that. And you said that that was what aspect?
I said your Venus in the eighth and your Venus Pluto, you have somebody that you really, really want to love. You really, really deeply, deeply just want to give your all to him. That's your Venus in the eighth, Venus in Venus square Pluto. I'm
Uh
saying
huh.
you don't do that. You ignore that feeling and you go feed the other parts of yourself. This Venus in Virgo is very, very selfish. It's like a black hole. If you feed this, it's going to suck up all the energy from the other parts of your chart. Mm, I know you probably muted before because it was too loud, but yeah, that's what I'm seeing. The more I read this chart, the more it becomes clear to me. Like, yeah, you kind of. I know it's an awful choice to make between love and career and like satisfaction. I'm telling you, I think avoiding the guy you really, really love. Like I said, there's probably someone in your heart that really just does it for you, and if there's not, there probably will be, right? Usually, Pluto brings an aspect of fate to relationships. You're probably going to meet that guy if you haven't already. I'm saying it's best if you're just friends. It's best if you're just friends and you choose your career, you choose some other things before you even think about getting with that guy. Unless you can fund him, you can fund that relationship. Uh, I'm going all over the place. Anything before I go to the next topic? All right, so we're back. We got to take a little break. Lauren said she has some questions for me, so go ahead and fire.
Okay. So basically, you were saying that there's either a person that I've met or haven't met quite yet that is going to feel like a touch of destiny, but I shouldn't acknowledge
Um,
them or whatever.
I'm
Could that
saying,
also be in business?
uh, a little, uh, maybe, possibly. I don't see why not, but like that's not something that's clear to me. I'm saying that because yeah, Venus square Pluto, which means you're very, very obsessive in love. You're very, love feels addicting to you. You feel very addicted to the person you love when you love them. Um, love is you're very possessive, so it's possessive, obsessive, addicting, very controlling, very manipulating because you're very insecure. You don't want to be challenged when it comes to loyalty, right? You don't want loyalty to be in question. You don't want someone's love to be in question, and because of that, you do things to make sure that that person loves you. But ironically, usually those things that you do makes ends up pushing that person away. Venus square Pluto can be very smothering. You're very, very smothering. Venus in the eighth house, Venus square Pluto. You're very smothering when it comes to love. And I tell people with plutonic placements that love is like a fire, and sometimes you got to give it air to breathe.
Uh-huh.
Right? But you play a lot of games. I don't think you know you do. Maybe you do. I think you're smart enough. You play a lot of games. You play a lot of games with a lot of people. Um, and that's just like something that you just got to deal with, and you just got to understand that when you play games with people, it can push them away. Hmm.
When you say games, like, does that mean like back to the first thing that we were talking about when it's like, oh, I do things manipulating people, but it's basically for pure intention?
Um, in this case, no. It can be. I think that is. I think there are good intentions for the most part. It's just that there's free will. There's free will. Um, People can feel you manipulating them. They can feel like they're being lied to, and you're doing all these things for the sake of the relationship, and they don't see that. Not everyone has the same plan as you. Not everyone has the same goals in mind as you. And rather than communicate, because you really do struggle with communication, rather than communicate and talk things out and work and walk with people, you much rather pull strings, and that's what's going to
Because
really
it takes too much time.
Moon and Capricorn concerned about time. That's funny.
Because when I say time, not like that I won't commit to it, but it's more so the time that it's going to take to convince someone to change their mind. That's not my job.
In love, it kind of is though.
No,
Yes.
no.
See, you want someone to commit to you, right?
Yes.
So you're not willing to put in the time for that.
Oh, definitely. But if I just find that I don't want to make this sound like I'm a bad person, but kind of, I guess this is my Venus in Virgo. If I just find that it takes too much work to get things done, like I'll just give up in relationships.
Well, that's the problem. Bitches just give up. Ever since the fucking y'all got rights, ever since women got rights and they just left. I bet the first nigga after 1960s, he was like, God damn, she just left.
Mm.
That's the reason why relationships were so strong back then. Women couldn't leave. They had to fucking be better people and deal with shit. Now y'all
Yeah, see,
niggas.
but I'm not a part. I don't like dealing with shit. Like, I very much like the freedom of being able to, I guess, not choose.
Nah, man. Like, so, like, how are you ever going to get the relationship you want if you leave? I'm not saying you got to just deal with an abusive nigga. Um, that's not what I'm
Well, I
saying.
don't leave a good. How about this? I don't leave a good relationship.
Do you know what a good relationship is?
I'd say so. Yeah.
That's not a yeah.
What?
I
Just
hate
because I didn't
I
have
hate
confidence in my response doesn't mean that I don't know.
you're a fucking politician, man. Don't give me the politician answer.
Okay, well, yes, I know what a good relationship
If I
is.
said, Lauren, do you love me? And you said, I'd say so, I'd smack you. Get out of your
I'd
secretary mode.
well, no. I mean, both the educated response that's written on paper to what a good relationship is, like based on how a therapist would, give you that information and just generally living it as a
So
personal.
I need you to stop because you don't hear you right now. Audience,
Yes, I do.
audience, people who are hearing, who are listening to this. Doesn't it sound like she's trying to navigate a bunch of different bosses in her chart? Like, doesn't it sound like she's just trying to appease like four different parents right now? Tell me if
No.
I'm tripping because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're juking and tiptoeing over these landmines, these conversational landmines that don't exist. And again, you don't hear you, but I hear you, and I think other people who hear you will agree. Um,
I think what y'all are hearing is what y'all can't do, which is a lot of people just think thoughts and that's what they are. Like, I don't allow a thought to define me right away. Like, I will marinate in that and see if that's how I want to be presented. So I don't mind, I guess, if people see me fumble because I'm trying to refine myself.
it's not fumbling. It's very political. Very you are PR. I think you should do PR. Honestly, I think you should be a PR, something in PR, because you're beautiful with that. I think when a celebrity gets caught touching kids or whatever the fuck, I think you should be the person they call, and you
No, they should not call me for that one specifically, but I see what you're saying.
That's because you're a master. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because the way you were raised, or the household or the childhood you had, and because of your total energy, not just including your Western astrology, because your numerology and Chinese astrology, you're a people pleaser. You are a people pleaser to the core, and most people, they get tired of people pleasing after they learn they can't please everyone else. But you pleased everyone else. You actually
Yeah,
did that
so
shit.
I win.
But no, you're not
That's why I
winning.
feel like people should listen to me because I can do
No.
it. Yes,
Mm-mm,
that's agreed.
mm-mm.
Anyway, persisting. So we just passed on or touched on Venus and Virgo, but what about
But like that's the
um
thing though. Like again, you're trying to appease four different people in your chart. I mean, four different voices in your chart. You're trying to appease everyone else in your life. What do you do for yourself?
I relax.
How?
Like there are hours in the day that I take to myself to not have plan for anything.
You do nothing.
I wouldn't say I don't do anything. Like I do my hobbies in that time, like or like, I'll be social.
I hope people like get to. I'm gonna split this video. This is gonna be the second part of the video, and I hope people comment and tell you what they hear. I'm not gonna say what I hear because I don't want them to be like, oh, I don't want you to be like, oh, they're just parroting what you say. I want them
Well,
to comment
no,
what they
I
hear.
know that people are going to describe me as boring. Like I have
No,
a lot
no,
of
not
Capricorn
boring,
energy.
not boring, not boring. It's just what do you do for yourself? Again, you didn't answer what you did for yourself in life. What do
Okay,
you do
like
for
I take
yourself?
self-care baths, I do hair
No,
massages.
dummy. What do you do for yourself? I'm not talking about like shit that doesn't matter, right? I'm talking about like when have you ever made a decision simply because you wanted to and not because it appeases others?
I don't got time for that. Life isn't just about me.
Because you're an overachiever, I can't tell you that you can't people please because again, you're a master people pleaser. You're going to do that shit and do it well. But I'm saying eventually, well, maybe not. Maybe you'll never feel this feeling. But a lot of people, most people, 90% of people.
I want to feel that feeling. I don't like appease. It's not really about appeasing people. Like I don't like not choosing myself first because I know what you're describing.
Hmm.
But I guess I've trained myself to be cognizant of others and to think of others first because I just feel like maybe the karmatic thing with the Saturn and just certain lessons that I've gotten.
I think you're too afraid. Honestly, I think it's just a fear, fear of success, fear of failure, whatever it is. I think you're too afraid of what might happen.
How could I be fear of success? How can you be fear of success?
A lot of
In fear
people,
of
a lot of
success.
people are afraid of success. They
But
don't.
how?
They don't want change. They're afraid of what might happen when things change. They don't know if they can handle it. There's a lot of reasons. I think that really does attribute to you in your entire chart, in your entire life, really, because it's not only indecision, right? The sun and moon are also considered to be parents in astrology. Sun is the father, moon is the mother, and it also represents your father and mother as well. So, again, you're split between your father and mother. You're split between four different forces. Again, there's like three different stories in your chart. There's your Venus and Virgo. There's your Saturn, and then there's the Sun, square Moon, and all this other stuff. There's this Jupiter all alone in 12th house. That means something. Um, and so on and so forth. You haven't even touched on your Mars. We haven't even touched on some other things. Like there's so much going on and so many things that you have to do for not only other people but like for yourself. You don't do anything for yourself. Like again, w- what major life decision have you done simply because is I wanted to do it.
Um
You don't got to answer if it's like too vulnerable or personal. But I'm saying you should
no,
start.
I don't. I'm not going to answer out loud. Like I'm definitely considering. But there are some choices that I've definitely made for myself. But I think what has happened in those moments is that I was displeased or I was hurt, like when I chose to do something for myself, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I completely turned the cheek and I'm like, oh, okay, so I can't make decisions, no problem. Like I'm gonna focus on like work and like a little bit less with personal matters, I would say, because like family, blah blah blah, that you can't ignore. But yeah, like somewhere along the way, like I've just got sick of like me wanting to do something and then like the feeling that happens after.
Hmm.
And then like with anything, it's easier to blame like the situation, people, other people, like not to say if I didn't choose myself, but like if I just ended up in a situation, I blame it on that. Like it's hard to, you know, be
And
the
and people are going to call me a hypocrite because I just told you not to choose the man that you really really love versus the man who will really help you out in the other
uh-huh.
parts of your life. But still, like I do think you should just start practicing that more. Whether even if it's just minor stuff, even if it's just like you have an option between like a party and that's what I wanted to do. If you have an option between like a party and a family event or whatever, like whenever you have like an option,
Uh-huh.
make a third option just for yourself. Just make a third option. Stop taking these dilemmas. Make it a trilemma, and even if you don't take it, I'm not telling you to choose yourself every single time. I'm saying it making
Uh-huh.
an option and to take that option sometimes.
Okay.
Mm, Jesus, you're a mess. Star's a mess. So messy. But again, it's very admirable what you do. Not a lot of people could could fill as many cups as you do and not break down. Maybe you had breakdown. Maybe you break down in private, but still, not a lot of people can do it. You probably do it on a daily basis, honestly, with just how active this theme is in your chart. Not a lot of
Mhm.
people can do it, and I think that you should feel proud of yourself for being able to do that. It is a talent you have, and that is a talent that you should really tap into. Now that you have it, you've worked for this, and again, it's something you should work into. So something that really, whatever industry that involves that, just like appealing to different people and different sides. I think you should do PR. Honestly, I think everything in your chart is just pointing to PR, and you just instead of instead of doing PR for yourself, do PR for other people.
It's so funny that you're talking about that because I started doing PR like half-assedly for one of my friends. I was just like, I kind of want to start doing this. I feel like I'd be good at it.
Hmm. Yeah, get into it. I think you'll find that you're very good at it. I know you're going to. I know you're good at it. It just depends on if you want to do it or not, and if you get like paid and stuff like that. I think that's the two things you should be looking at. Honestly, PR as a career, and getting a man with a lot of money, not a lot of money, but enough money to fund the relationship or whatever family you want to start and your business endeavors. Right. I'm not saying he has to be a
Hmm.
super billionaire. I'm not saying that he does need to be on an up and up and eventually because that does matter to you. That is like you do need a moon and Capricorn. You're a little bit of a gold digger, a little bit. Plus the Libra stuff, you're expensive. Yeah, you're a gold digger.
Baby said I'm expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm, hold on, I'm gonna stop recording. I think that's good for like